Welcome to the Underground Railroad. I'm D. Curtis Randall. My guest at this time is Vince Davis, the former Chicago police officer, and he's going to tell us his story about the injustices within the Chicago Police Department and all the things he had to go through legally. Mr. Davis, thank you for being here.
Okay, thank you, sir.
And on March 31st, 1990, let's start with that. What happened?
Well, first of all, I want to start off saying that nobody knows my story, and my name has been slandered through the community, the law enforcement community, as well as the political community. But most of all, I want to commend Mayor Lightfoot for excellent transparencies, which I discovered crimes that had been committed by city employees. Recently, the mayor sent me a letter stating that all contracts are recorded in the clerk's office along with an ordinance. Mm-hmm. But I kind of knew that, that it was recorded in the clerk's office. And then I sent a Freedom of Information request to the current city clerk. Mm-hmm. And she said that Toxtex never had a contract. There's nothing in their journal proceeding that this company had a contract. And an ordinance. So that shed light, and that letter was sent on September the 18th, 2020. Mm-hmm. And further, the Procurement Department, they have rules and state guidelines and ordinance. Any misconduct pertaining to any fraud must be reported immediately to the Inspector General. Mm-hmm. However, they didn't do that.
And no one from the Inspectors General made any contact with you or your attorneys or anything?
Well, my due diligence, I sent the letter to Joe Ferguson, Inspector General, mm-hmm. and they did an investigation, and there was no findings. Mm-hmm. However, let's go back to the procurement office. Okay, they committed fraud. I did a Freedom of Information under the Department of Finance. This company was given over $1 million, and it stole money from taxpayers.
Okay. Okay, as the story goes, you were injured while you were on duty. What injury did you sustain?
On March 31st, I was injured working in my official capacity, and I went down to the medical section to get an extension on my medical leave, and because my injuries didn't permit me to go back to work. Mm-hmm. So they gave me a mandatory physical. I said, fine, The physical consists of a cardiograph, blood, two urine samples.
Mm-hmm. So this was pretty routine?
Well, I don't know if it's routine or not, because this is the first time, because I was a new officer on the job. Mm-hmm. However, my doctor did not give me a release prescription to go back to work. So they gave me the mandatory physical, and again, one sample was taken from me, and the second sample stayed on the table, unsecured. They told, per the transcript at the police administrative hearing, they said that second sample they were testing for blood deficiencies.
Mm-hmm. Explain the procedures for medical leave as you remember them.
Oh wow, that's kind of well in terms of the. Back then, if I can remember, medical leave, you have to get a doctor to be released back to work. And however, I'd had a letter from my doctor stating that my injuries didn't permit me to go back to work. Mm-hmm. And again, from there, a mandatory physical took place.
And why did you seek the extension?
I was injured. As I said, I was injured while working in my official capacity. And, I had back injuries, head injuries, and bruises, In
the line of duty?
In the line of duty, yes.
Okay. Now, prior to your injury, was there anything in your career that gave you cause for concern?
Oh, wow, yeah. Yeah, well, I worked in the 8th District, and there was a pattern of robberies that occurred in the 8th District, and gas stations were being robbed, and stores, and one particular evening, we had got a call of armed robbery in progress, and at which time I located the subjects, and they were running. I caught them, and finding out that one of the subjects was related to one of the commanders in the police department.
I see. Now, is there an unwritten rule about children of officers or fellow officers?
I was never told anything about an unwritten rule, but however, I mean, my thing is I'm not going to violate one's constitutional rights when I make an arrest. So in terms of I did my job, and I was given a honorable mention for that. But I can tell you this here, that I was transferred immediately thereafter, 2 weeks thereafter. I was transferred to the 2nd District.
Okay, from the 8th District to the
second
2nd
district,
District
yeah.
after this incident.
Yes, and I believe that was done because from stopping me from getting my court notification.
All right. We have a caller. Caller, you're on the air. What's your question?
I want to work with like all people, but they never gave me a call. I'm gonna be looking to the building, brother. That I know Marlon Danny, my Danny, you don't want to be bothered with that. That's a good okay. Yeah, I don't. They don't put that in 50. Shit, that's 50. Yeah, you shouldn't.
Okay, we're having difficulty with our phones. We're going to get right back to that. And your calls are important, and your calls are requested. We get back to you, the call list as soon as we get our technical fixed.
Yeah, that's me.
Going back to you, Mr. Davis, who was Commander Crown?
He was a commander in bomb and arson. And I didn't have any inclination that when I arrested this subject that he was any kin to a commander. And as a result, I got my court notification. I went down to the circuit court and testified, and he received 5 years in the Illinois Department of Correction.
Okay, is he connected to this case at all?
No, I mean, but there's nothing that I can say that he's connected to the case. But however, there's a lot of speculations.
Okay, now, there's an unwritten code. Did you break it?
Probably so. I think I did. But again, nothing factual that nothing I have documentation, anything tangible that I can say that, that I was being retaliated against.
Should there be an unwritten code?
It shouldn't be an unwritten code, no. Because when you are sworn under the United States Constitution to uphold the law, I mean, and you're working in your official capacity, I mean, you have to do your due diligence in working, try to help the public and innocent people. That was one of my pet peeves. I love helping people.
And you did this. You did everything that you needed to do according to the oath of your office, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And what happened as a result of that?
As a result of that, well, again, I went down to the medical section, and on April 20th of 1990, again, a physical took place. On April 25th, I've learned that my one sample was taken to a laboratory called Tox Tech, and Tox Tech's laboratory was, I believe, located in the 9th Ward. And my one sample was transported by a police officer. In the contract specification, in this fraudulent contract specification, it states that all samples are transported by a carrier service. So, the question is why was my sample taken to a fraudulent company by a police officer?
And that's the code that you have in your hand. That's the code that everybody should live up to, that code right there.
Yes. Well, this is the contract specification,
sure,
where it says that, the procedures, you take two samples, A and B.
Right.
A is put in the refrigerator, and B is put in the refrigerator. A is tested. A is sent out immediately between 24 hours. However, my sample stayed in the refrigerator for 5.5 days and was transported by a police officer.
And that is not normal.
No, it says initial screening is 24 hours. Confirmation is 48 hours.
In your opinion, why do you think they did that?
I believe I was being targeted because because of because I locked up Commander Crowley's son. Yes, I'm gonna go ahead and say it.
Okay. Now, back to your request for an extension. What happened that particular day?
The physical and my extension was granted.
It was.
It was granted, and about maybe 3 weeks later, I think 3 weeks later in May, I went back to work. And
Were you physically able to go back to work?
right, I went back
at
to
that
work.
time?
I went back to the medical section. They cleared me. Went back to work, and about 4 weeks later, I received a call to come into the station. I was working on the street, and they told me to go to the watch commander's office. And watch commander's office was internal affairs, and they said that I came up positive for benzoin, which is a metabolite of a drug.
They said that you were positive for this drug.
Yes, yes, it did.
Have you ever taken that drug?
No, I have not.
You had no knowledge of ever taking that drug.
I never took any drugs.
Okay. Now, were you aware of the procedures for collecting blood and urine samples? Were you aware of that procedure?
At that time, I was not aware in terms of, because I've talked to several individuals and I explained to them what had happened to me, and they said, Vince, that was wrong what they did because this is the procedure. You take A and B, and if A comes back positive, I have an opportunity to test B. B's supposed to stay in the refrigerator for at least 5 years. However, there was no B.
I understand. Okay, you're watching the Underground Railroad. You're here with former officer Vince Davis.
Hello?
And we have a phone call. Caller, you're on the air.
Hello?
Good evening, caller. What's your question? Caller, what's your question? Okay, we'll get back to the caller later. This is the Underground Railroad, and you're here with, I'm D. Curtis Randall, and I guess is former Chicago police officer Vince Davis. And he's talking about the injustices that he had experienced as a Chicago police officer. Now, in the line of duty, Mr. Davis, you were hurt in the line of duty, and CPD decided to frame you. Okay, could you explain that?
Well, you know, I never had any problems. I was received my my ranking, my score. It's like proficiency scores, and I was about an 85 to a 90.
You never had past behavior?
I never had any past disciplines or behavior. I might have missed a court. I had a court deviation. You missed a court. That's about it.
Is that a minor offense?
That's a minor offense.
And has nothing to do with the injustices that you have today?
No, sir. No,
Okay.
sir.
Do you feel that the chain of custody was broken with these samples?
Yes, the chain of custody was broken in terms of, as I said, the initial screening is supposed to happen within 24 hours.
Right.
And however, I learned from the human resources that the chain of custody must be maintained at all times with the label number on each specimen and with the control number. However, there was no number on my second sample. There was no number on my second sample.
There was no number.
No,
As opposed to the first, there was no number on the second.
no.
Okay. Caller, you're on the air. What's your question?
Yeah, this is, I have a question.
Yes.
My question is being an average citizen, all the things that police have done, from Sandra Bland to Trayvon Martin, why should we believe you?
Wow.
After all the protests that are going on, police know what drug houses are. Why should we believe you? Why?
Well, you know, my case is similar to Laquan McDonald and Sandra Bland because both incidents, there were collusion and conspiracies. My case is a lot of fraudulent concealment and antitrust violations but more so collusion, you know, and that's where the similarities comes into play, because Laquan McDonald, the case reports were fabricated, they lied on the case report, they lied in court, but prior to going to court, there was a lot of collusion and conspiracy from the public from knowing what had happened to Laquan McDonald, because I believe city council agreed to pay X amount of dollars to his parent.
I see. Thank you. Caller, we have another caller. Caller, what's your question? And he's gone. Okay. Do you have any information pertaining to the laboratory that tested your samples, other than the fact that this company did not have a contract with the city?
Wow, wow. You know, I've always proclaimed my innocence, and I said to myself that I'm gonna find out exactly what took place and what happened. A search warrant. Okay, actually, not the state's attorney, but the state of Illinois, under the auspice of Robert Goyevich, they did an investigation on this particular company, and as a result, they found out that this company had submitted false billing from the Illinois Department of Children and Family Services, and they found out that many families were displaced by this company. So that's when the investigation started, in terms of the eyes were on them.
In your opinion, are they dirty?
Oh yes, they're dirty, because I believe on about 2011, a search warrant was executed. You know, a writ was signed by a judge. A writ is a warrant is issued by a judge directing police officers or investigators to perform a specific act. And but prior to the warrant being issued, someone informed ToxTec that a warrant was going to be being placed upon them. So what they did was they got a dumpster, and they threw everything in the dumpster, and but that didn't work. The investigators they went into the dumpster, and they found what they needed, and subsequently this company was convicted of a Class 4 felony.
Okay. In your opinion, do you know firsthand that this drug testing company operated without a license?
Yes, I know firsthand, because the legal term we all try to use is, you shock the conscience. My conscience was shocked when I learned that under the state of Illinois, that this company was not incorporated. So that shed light too, because I did I requested to find out about this particular company.
And you went through the Freedom of Information Act?
I went to the Freedom of Information, and I got a detailed report of this particular company. This company was not wasn't incorporated anymore, and wasn't incorporated anymore with the state of Illinois.
Do you know why that the second urine sample was not tested? Because
the second sample would prove that I was innocent. It would prove that there was no drugs in my system, and plus the physical that was taken, that I took. I mean, I took they took blood, and there was nothing in my blood.
There was nothing in the blood. There was nothing in the first sample. The second sample would have cleared you.
The second sample would have cleared me. In my first sample, they said they found 299 grams of nanograms of benzogon. They said if it was under 300, it would have been. If it was under 299, it'd been negative. I said, oh wow, that was at my police board hearing.
Wow. Okay. Was there any procedures that was taken by you to get reinstated after all this?
Yes. Yes, I did. I filed an administrative review in the circuit court along with my attorney. He filed it for me because, and I was reinstated because I didn't have a hearing within 30 days. My hearing took place, I believe, 3 months after the incident. So I guess they didn't know whether they was going to charge me or not.
Now, I have to ask you this. What happened to your union, the FOP?
Oh, wow. FOP refused to represent me because they said it was an off-duty incident. And however, under the collective bargaining agreement in 1990, there's nothing in the agreements that ToxTex was allowed to do any testing, any mandatory physical, any testing, nothing. So FOP knew that this company was not approved by the city council nor the mayor.
They knew this, but they used them anyway. In your opinion, why?
Well, no, FOP didn't represent me at all. When I went in front
I
of
know that. FOP knows that this drug company, this drug testing company, was not on their list of testing blood, urine, anything like that. The city knows that, but then they use them anyway. Why do you think that?
To get rid of me.
Point blank.
Point blank, yeah. But
And all of this is basically because you arrested Commander Crowley's son.
I believe so, yes, sir. But as I said, there's nothing factual. I have the case report. I have the honorable mention that proves that that this subject was arrested and charged.
What was the result of that case? Do you know?
Well, what happened was I went down and I called in for my court notification and went down and testified. And as I said before, he received 5 years in the Illinois Department of Corrections, and for that robbery.
Mm-hmm. Have you met with anybody with the Chicago City Council on this?
Yes, I met with late Alderman Virgil Jones. Mm-hmm. He was very instrumental in helping me, as well as Senator Paul Simon. This fraudulent contract was mailed to me. It was mailed to Senator Paul Simon and Virgil Jones. And
I'm curious, what did Senator Simon do?
Senator Simon sent a letter to the police department, Superintendent Rodriguez, because Leroy Martin had retired.
Sure.
And Senator Simon stated in a letter that if Mr. Davis is correct, all test results are invalid, because in this particular contract, there's false and fictitious certification under the Department of Health and Human Service. They created this contract, and in the contract it says, fraudulent contract says that the company has to be licensed under the Department of Health and Human Service, and you must be. And however, they were not. And so Alderman Jones, being a member of the Police Fire Committee, submitted a resolution to have me reinstated as a police officer, and because they held the hearing for me.
But that didn't last.
Well, the hearing, okay, they had the hearing, and in the hearing they discovered that there was a nurse down in the medical section that was switching samples. So Alderman Jones and the Police and Fire Committee put in a resolution, and it never got on the floor. I do have the journal proceedings here as well that indicated that a resolution was submitted to go on the floor, but never did.
I see. We have a caller. Caller, you're on the air. Hello, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, hello?
Hi. How are you?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I
Yes, I
can.
can.
What's your
Hello.
question? Caller, what's your question? Okay, we'll get back to the calls later. I'm going to ask this, Mr. Davis. Do you know an Officer Brown who handled the samples? Did you know him?
I didn't know him personally, but I know he came to my hearing, my administrative hearing, and testified that he transported the specimen to ToxTex Laboratory, a fraudulent company.
Right. Why would they do that? Does he? Apparently, it is not up to him to do that, but he did it anyway. Do you think that?
Well, first of all, as I said, according to the rules and regulations and human resource, all specimens are transported by a carrier service, not a police officer.
Exactly.
And further, my question is why my sample was taken to ToxTex. the company was supposed to be taken into was called Smith, Klein, and Beecham. And
That's a reputable firm.
right, and
I'm assuming that they are licensed by the city.
well, they're licensed. They were licensed at the time. They were licensed and they were certified under the Department of Health and Human Service. However, Tox Tech wasn't. It wasn't proved by the city. It wasn't proved by the city council. And in this contract specification, it has a fraudulent signature of Mayor Daley and others.
I'm going to ask you about that after this caller. Caller, you're on the air.
Yes, afternoon.
Hello, caller. What's your question?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. What's your
Hello.
question?
Yes, my question is, how can we help your cause of getting justice for you based on the information you're giving us today? And
Did you hear that?
You said how? Well, I mean,
How can the public help in your case?
well, first of all, this is a public concern right now. I'm informing the public that this company right now is still working under a different name.
So basically, this can happen again to other people.
Right, this is a public concern. As I said before, many families were destroyed that were under the auspices of the Department of Children and Family Services. If they would have done something in the beginning, these families would not have been displaced because of this fraudulent company. So it's a public concern. How you can help me is get involved and vote. There's an election coming right now. Vote. Get involved in your city government, because a lot of stuff is going on because we don't know about it. There's a lot of bid rigging and antitrust violation. And I had the opportunity to be certified this year as a inspector general investigator, and I've learned so much. And I trained with the Department of Justice of antitrust violation and bid rigging. And but again, what the public need to do is be aware what the city councils are doing in terms of with these contracts, you know.
All right. Well, we're going to take a break because there's a lot more information to come. Just stay tuned. We will be right back. You're watching the Underground Railroad.